Good morning, dear people of the internet, and welcome to the most senseless crafters, the Christian nationalist, conservative kind, or at least that's what I think. I've seen many of those people getting louder and louder in online crafting spaces, and I think it's time to finally talk about it. And also, since he seemed to be a minority in this space still, I have one question, which is, why are crafters mostly woke leftists? Which is a very unnuanced question, and I will further in the video ask it differently, but I put it like this because it's easy, and these people call us, or like most crafters that are not on the far right, woke leftists anyway. So I thought I would put it like this because I'm mad and I did not want to put any more thinking brain effort into that. Don't worry, I put that into the script. I find it incredibly interesting why these people exist in general, and I thought we should narrow it down to the crafting space, but I find the far right a very interesting and very sad thing. So that is why this is a great rabbit hole we'll be diving in together today. Before we get into all of that, I have a very short public service announcement. I have this very delusional plan of this channel supporting me through college and beyond, and luckily you can help me with that for free by subscribing and watching my videos, so thank you for that. Now let's get started. This topic kind of makes me feel like a detective with a wall of red thread, which is why I made this board. I printed more things for on the board, and I won't be putting the red threads, I think, because it's very small and contained, and we'll see what it means anyway without the red thread, which would make it more confusing. But that is why I have this, so we can get some kind of overview and find out together what is happening and why it's happening and why it's weird that there are crafters who are on the far right. This topic begins with craft-related people showing their views on the internet. This is one of the videos of one of the crafters in this space. So this person makes art both related to Christianity and to American nationalism. And I will put her like here in the middle as some sort of representation of the people who would maybe ask that question. I have not seen this person ask this question. I've seen this question come from people who make this kind of art. That is what this means. They are still very much part of this video, of course. Excuse me, she, because those people don't do pronouns. Mostly. What I find most interesting about this is that the conservatism comes through in both the religion and the nationalism in this one. I am a firm believer of separation of church and state because I personally think that is the best way to guarantee some kind of freedom of beliefs in a country to your citizens. And that goes for all religions. It's not just church and state. It's like all religion and state needs to be separated, according to my personal belief. In the USA specifically, there is a separation of religion and the state because of the First Amendment to the Constitution. It might surprise you, it definitely surprised me, but there are many countries in Europe that are still officially Christian to a certain extent. England and Denmark have it even as their state religion, and my country, the Netherlands, has been on a centuries-long process to separate church and state, and it's still technically an ongoing process. Effectively, that means that we have freedom of religion that is in something called the ground law. It's basically the constitution here. It's the laws that are very hard to change, and that are the laws that are basically the rights of every Dutch citizen. In there we have freedom of religion. That's the thing that separates the church and state here, but we're not a non-religious country. It doesn't say in the law that we are not religious. I found it important to mention this because there are some Christians who often make it seem like the politics and Christianity in America are deeply intertwined. And it isn't, technically speaking, like it shouldn't be. The Christians who are pushing this connection by just showing that they belong together in an ideology or saying that the USA is Christian or whatever, and it happens in other countries too. We are talking mostly about the USA today, but it is happening in other countries as well, and it's not a USA specific thing. However, most of the examples I could find are from the USA. Anyways, the people who are pushing this connection are called Christian nationalists. They should also be on the board. Maybe just also above this, but like I will put it to the side here. Christian nationalists, which is what this says, are the people who think that the politics and Christianity should be deeply intertwined. What they want is actually the opposite of the separation of church and state. In my personal analysis, it's very likely that you are a Christian nationalist, business if you're combining your patriotism and your religion into your business, like the video of the person we just watched. If these are so deeply together in what you're promoting, it would make sense that you're a Christian nationalist. I'm not against bringing your values into your business, to be clear. I think that is very important even, because how else are you going to find your customer base? But the sense of patriotism and religion together is very specific, and I don't like that, but I don't like it in general. It's not about them bringing it into their crafting business. It's more about what their beliefs are, and also why it doesn't make sense that crafters hold this belief specifically. These creators are not particularly easy to find, I think, because they are often criticized by other crafters in the online crafting space for their beliefs. As I said, conservative crafters are a minority in the online crafting space, and so it makes sense they were not very loud about their beliefs before. However, something happened shortly ago that did make some of them come out louder for their beliefs. This thing is the shooting of Charlie Kirk, which happened, I believe, in October of last year, because some people expressed their grief over what happened. Now, before we get into that, I find it very important to say that any kind of violence, in my opinion, is bad, period. Shooting anyone because you disagree with them is bad. I did not agree with anything I heard Charlie Kirk say on social media, of course. I've seen his videos multiple times because he was popular and he came up on my feed multiple times. I disagree with all of that. However, that doesn't mean you can just insert violence into the situation. So I want to say that because I know that defense to the inclusivity and everything is welcome, and leftists preach against violence, but this, and some of them are happy about this. I don't think that's right, so I wanted to get that out of the way. Anyways, the murder of Charlie Kirk was a very intense, important social media event that happened then, so I think he needs to be on the board because it's also relevant to our conversation today. And I did not want to print out a picture of him, so I wrote his name down and I will put him here. Someone on Reddit posted an entire list of people to avoid if you don't share these beliefs and don't want to support someone sharing these beliefs. They are mostly embroidery artists. This is not the entire list because it did not fit on my screen, but I put it right under Charlie Kirk. Because the reason why most of these people were quote-unquote exposed was because they expressed grief online about Charlie Kirk and the entire situation around that. Now, this sounds like a bit of a witch hunt, and I'm not entirely sure if I agree with this or not. Like, on one hand, yes, I don't want to support people who have harmful beliefs, and a lot of these people tend to hide those beliefs. I think those beliefs are truly harmful. However, this could be an invitation for harassment of those people, but also the responsibility of who is harassing who is like by the harasser and not by the person posting the list. Posting their addresses would go a little bit too far, but I think this would be totally fine. Don't harass people. One person who has expressed this sentiment is Handy Woman Shop on Instagram, and she has put in her bio, I am Charlie Kirk. So I will put her on the board right next to this because she should be on that list. Another interesting thing about her is that she has the number 1613 in her bio, which is a dog whistle. Someone on Reddit pointed that out and explained why, and I think we should read it to see how deep this can go. I'm from Texas, and I just want to let you know 1613 is a hate symbol. Each number corresponds to a letter in the Aryan Brotherhood. 1 is A for Aryan, 6 is F for Featherwood, a wife or girlfriend for life of a Peckerwood, which is a member of the Aryan Brotherhood. These women basically give up all their rights to become property as per the Aryan contract that is law according to them that they all sign. 1 is again A for Aryan, 3 C for Circle. The Aryan Circle is a group of AB male members who basically direct the Aryan Brotherhood and its legal dealings. They are usually called generals or something militant. She's advertising that she is the girlfriend or wife of a Circle status member of the Aryan Brotherhood. I'm 100% sure she's affiliated, as her posts mention locations around small towns south of DFW like Tyler, Texas and Wash. Dear American people, why with so many X's and H's in a city name? Waxahachie? I don't know, I'm butchering that of course. Texas, etc. Which are all Aryan Brotherhood of Texas hubs, and it's a very regional symbol. I had to look up the AB because I was living in blissful ignorance because I did not know what it was. Apparently it's a gigantic American prison gang that's also active outside of prison, of course, nowadays, according to Wikipedia. And I do understand that you need some virtue signaling to express that you're a part of this without your buyers knowing this, because I think this is a sure way to lose your customer base. I would assume. I know nothing. I don't think this is an inherent part of this Christian nationalist thing, but it has something to do with it because they share some beliefs that conservative Christians often express on the internet, and just conservative people in general. Not all of them, but a few of them. So it doesn't need to be on the board, but those people exist, and I thought it would be important to look into that a little bit. What is interesting from my point later on in this video is this AI image that is also on this page. I'll put AI here next to her because she's using it. Like, here's the little image as well. I have spent so much time talking about why it doesn't make any sense to use AI in crafter spaces. She just did not spend any time making it and did not spend any money on someone else who has the craftsmanship to make something like this that is actually looking nice also. It just doesn't make any sense. It's like the quickest possible way out. Please keep that in mind while I read you the following section on her weaving supplies website. Please understand, all our products are handmade. They are not manufactured by some machine that makes them exactly the same and perfect every time. I do not throw away wood because it's not perfect. I work around imperfections and make sure the tools work as designed. If you are thinking you will be getting an exquisite $80 shuttle for $30, you are mistaken. We are not trying to make expensive tools. We are trying to offer you perfectly good tools for a price you can afford. That's our mission, for goodness sakes. However, we feel our tools, each and every one of them, are exquisite. I am biased. Besides this being an argument that she can deliver cheap tools because people did not pay her enough to make the expensive thing, it also shows an awareness that crafting takes a lot of time. And if you want it to be good, it takes even more time to make. The realization is there. I think that's important. Please keep that in mind. The last part of this puzzle is that crafters with these beliefs often express that they feel excluded within online crafting spaces and also offline crafting spaces, but mostly the online ones. I'm not going to deny that because I don't like hanging out with people I don't feel safe with, which means that I would technically be including people that I don't feel safe with. For example, most of these conservative Christian nationalists hold some belief against queerness in one way or another, which means that I cannot truly be myself and be respected for my gender with these people, and probably also not my sexuality, which means that I feel unsafe because I cannot be who I am. Like, I cannot express myself to the fullest without it needing to be a conversation or whatever. And maybe you can ignore that and ignore it for both sides, but that doesn't feel comfortable either. So yes, I would be excluding those people from my space if they cannot respect me because it makes me feel unsafe. This feeling of exclusion is expressed in this story by a maker called Goody Goods. For example, it reads inclusivity, but just for some. The modern quilting community has consistently shown there are no protections or allowances made for conservative-leaning creators when it comes to free speech on this platform. I am very curious what kinds of protections she's even talking about. Maybe I'm missing something, but being a white, cishet, conservative person in the US right now is about the safest thing you can be. Except for that this person is also a woman, but like the rest of the privileges are checked here. Maybe except for the money, but let's not go into there. It's probably one of the safest things to be out there now, so what does she need protecting from? I feel like the woke left is not a threat on a personal level, maybe for some exceptions, but every community has exceptions. A few months ago, a crocheter went viral for feeling excluded and making a conservative Christian crochet group as response to that. I covered her in a previous video, so I'm not going to rehearse her entire beliefs and backgrounds and whatever, but I do want to read you an interesting post that she posted this month. I have a confession. As a crochet designer over the last 8 years, I think I've accidentally contributed to something that's stealing our joy in crochet. For years, I thought my job was to inspire you. More patterns, more projects, more ideas. Because that's what crochet designers do. We create inspiration. But lately I've been wondering, what if we've accidentally started treating creativity like it's a machine? Not inspired? Save another pattern, watch another reel, browse Pinterest, buy more yarn. And so the cycle continues. But what if creativity was never meant to work like a machine? You're a human, not a machine. Some seasons overflow with ideas. Others are full of stress, new babies, grief, or simply a lot of life. This constant inspiration and consumption is creating burnout not only for designers, but also for you, the maker. So maybe the goal should be less about being constantly inspired and more about creating from the heart. That is the focus I want to have now. Less performance, less pressure, more purpose. I'm so excited to cultivate this exact thing inside the Haven, a slower, Christ-centered approach to creativity. Monthly rhythms that help you to rediscover the joy of making. We are opening to new members at the end of July. Comment if you want to be on the waitlist. She should also be on the board with her confession, also as the picture of feeling excluded. And I also printed the patriotism. I think that should be somewhere. It did not write in the script where that should go, I think, but it's important for this. Now the board looks like this. It's beautiful. I will hold it. So now we have conservative Christian nationalist crafters who find their beliefs important enough to implement them in their social media practices. Again, nothing wrong with that initially. They seem to face a lot of backlash from doing so within a more leftist leaning online crafting community, and therefore they tend to feel excluded. There's only one question left. And now I'm going to post this question in a way that I should have posted on the board as well. I will read it to you from my handwritten script. Why is most of the crafting community seemingly against conservative Christian nationalism? And the answer, I think, is capitalism, which is the last thing that needs to be on the board. I will explain myself. I printed a bunch of money, legally. It's a picture of a bunch of money. I find myself very funny sometimes. And then I wonder if I'm really funny. Conservative nationalism has a lot to do with virtue in politics. So does capitalism. If you make more money, you're doing better and therefore you are more virtuous. You're reaching your goals because the goal within capitalism is to make as much money as possible. The opposite here would be communism, which is not conservative at all. Conservative people don't want anything to do with communism. We all know that. Many Christian nationalists have preached for a free market economy. Capitalism also wants free market economy. It's a hands-off approach from the government regarding the economical market. That's basically what capitalism is, next to making as much money as you can. That's more like hyper-capitalism, I would say. Now, crafting is not a very capitalist thing. For one, it takes a very long time to make something, as these people seem to have realized, or at least some of them have. Making your own clothes can make you realize how long it takes to make clothes, and it can make you look up things, and then, oh, you realize that sewing machines are not hands-free at all. Like, someone has to mend them. If you buy cheap clothes, someone is making them for you. That's a realization. Then you think, oh, that's not great, because sewing my clothes takes a gigantic amount of time, so it would take so much time for them as well. More than you're paying for your €3 t-shirt. Because in this economy, in capitalist economy, time is also money. So it would make sense that crafters are slightly more aware, because of them crafting, of their consumption than non-crafters. Not that they cannot be aware of that, of course, but like crafting and thinking about crafting kind of makes you aware of that. At least that's the case for me, and I feel like that's also the case for a lot of other people. I am sure this is by far not the only reason why most online crafters tend to be more leftist leaning than the right-wing people mostly tend to be, but when I was thinking about making a video about how much louder the conservative Christian nationalist crafters are getting, that is what I first came to think about, so I think it's important. In my opinion, crafting is inherently anti-capitalist, which doesn't mean that capitalism doesn't exist inside of crafting. Of course it does. There's a lot of overconsumption in crafting communities even. You need to consume in order to make things most of the time. Well, you don't need to, but like nobody is growing their own sheep from nothing and not having money involved. But like money does not necessarily mean capitalism always. It's very complicated. But I think that crafting at the base, if you strip everything down, is sort of not very capitalist. Crafting is often for love and for your own personal enjoyment, not with your eye on monetary gain. Even if you have a crafting business, I think this capitalism thing is the exact reason why conservative Christian nationalists in crafting spaces confuse me so much. Because it doesn't make sense to put those things together. On a surface level it does, and crafting is for everyone, and it's just fun, and everyone wants to do fun things. So I think it starts there, and just some people don't think a lot about what it means, what they're doing, and that's also okay, because who wants to overthink their hobbies? But I just overthink everything. I have also been in a crochet group with people who have seemingly very different beliefs and values than I do, but the inclusion still was there, because all our conversations came down to the exact same thing. It's important to love each other, it's important to respect each other for who they are, and that's about it. If you have that, you can have respectful conversation about each other, and then if the other person believes in marriage and I don't believe in marriage as much, does not matter. Like, you can respect each other for being there, and you don't have to convince each other for everything. I will put this into a Bible verse. It is Mark 12, verse 31. It says, "Love your neighbor as yourself. There's no greater commandment than these." In other words, supporting hate is against God. I know there are a lot of nuances about this in the Bible, and I literally don't give a shit. I think that is also my problem. This is the most important thing. Don't hate. Truly hurt yourself to death without any excuses. Thank you for watching. If you like my little video, please press the wonderful shiny like and subscribe buttons, and then I will see you next time. Ciao!